Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Item number 4, Senate Bill 1700 by Senator Green on third and final consideration.
Senator Green, you're recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to move adoption on third and final consideration of Senate Bill 1700, which corrects or provides for some protections to the Safe Commute Act. Essentially, a person, it could be interpreted that the vehicle had to be owned by them the way the law is currently written. That this bill, is on incidental exposure, so forgive me. The next bill is on the POV. This bill is on incidental exposure, so when a person is carrying their gun on their person because they get out at the gas station on the way to the office, they have it on them, they pump their gas, they get back in their car, it's on their person. When they get to their workplace, they have to obviously leave that in the vehicle. So as they transfer that from their person to their vehicle, to hide it in the vehicle, it could be seen, thus placing them at jeopardy. And this bill just simply says that if it's incidental exposure of transferring the gun to put it in the vehicle, that does not, or that fits under the former law of protections of the Safe Commute Act. And I move passage.
Senator Green moves passage. Senate Bill 1700 on third and final consideration. That's second amendments, Mr. Clerk.
Amendment number 1, filed timely by Senator Beavers.
Senator Beavers, you're recognized on amendment number 1.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would move amendment number 1 in order to explain it.
Senator Beavers moves adoption of amendment number 1. Is there a second? Seconded. Senator Beavers, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I rise today to introduce an amendment to this legislation, which I feel is necessary to protect the rights of all citizens and workers in Tennessee. I applaud Senator Green for bringing this legislation to fix serious problems with the law that was passed just last year. However, it falls short of protecting our citizens or preserving their rights. It does not fully protect them from criminal prosecution. It does nothing to protect them from being fired, demoted, or reassigned. It forces them to risk criminal prosecution or job loss merely for storing their handguns in legally possessed cars after commuting to their jobs. The existence of legal confusion on whether or not a person can commute with a firearm is evidenced by the diverging opinions of the Attorney General and the opinion of legislative staff attorneys. The fact that two such radically different opinions exist shows that there is a serious ambiguity and uncertainty in the law. Legal uncertainty and ambiguity is not acceptable in a society that prides itself on the rule of law, as we most certainly do. But this issue is not just about firearms. During our hearings in Judiciary Committee in 2012, a representative from Federal Express actually testified on the record that Federal Express could fire employees for possessing a Bible in their private vehicles while at work if they wanted to do so. But this issue is not just about firearms. The legislation now before you, as approved by the Senate Judiciary, does not go far enough to correct the numerous and serious flaws in the current law. While this legislation seeks to address some of the flaws in the current law, it does nothing to protect employees from being fired merely for leaving a legally transported firearm in a legally possessed car. The current law, even with the changes in this bill, does not do enough to protect the property rights of those citizens who commute to their place of work. That is why I'm introducing this amendment. We need to pass a law that attempts to address all of the legal questions that have arisen over this issue. We need to pass legislation that removes uncertainty and vagueness. We need to pass a law that removes the risk of criminal prosecution and job loss. The amendment that I offer rewrites the legislation. Rather than addressing one of the flaws in last year's law, it acknowledges the scope of the problems within last year's law. It repeals last year's law and substitutes it with the concept of motor vehicle property rights. My amendment is based on the expanded Castle Doctrine in Tennessee, which equates motor vehicles with an individual's home. My amendment provides that a person can store in a legally possessed vehicle, whether it's owned, rented, or borrowed, any items of personal property, whether it is a Bible or a firearm, that the person legally possesses. My amendment expressly states that a person storing legally possessed personal property in a legally possessed vehicle is not subject to either criminal prosecution or job termination. The flaws are clear, and the solution arises from long-standing castle doctrine and the fact that our vehicles are, by law, an extension of our homes.
Senator Beavers has moved adoption of Amendment number 1. It was seconded. Senator Green, you're recognized.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, thank you. A couple of notes. The bill that I have written is intended to be very specific, addressing one of the flaws of this, and not to tackle them all in one big document. However, as I've sought counsel, legal counsel has told me that this amendment that is being added does not fit the caption of my bill. My bill was very specific, and so was the caption. And because this amendment, in accordance with legal, does not fit the caption of my bill, I would like to move that this amendment be moved to the table.
Proper motion. Senator Green moves Amendment number 1 to the table. Proper motion. Properly seconded. That cuts off all debate. As the proponent of the amendment, Senator Beavers, you are recognized on the motion to lay on the table.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would contend that his bill does open up Chapter 17, which includes the whole, although he may, be specific on which parts of that he wants to address, it opens up that code. And I would contend that my amendment does fit the caption.
Senator Beavers has moved adoption of Amendment number 1. Senator Green has moved it to the table. I'll try a voice vote. Those who favor the point of order, point of order, Senator Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If I could ask a procedural question of the clerk.
Clerk.
If it is found that this amendment is outside the caption by some legal authority, does it jeopardize the bill ultimately becoming law? If someone were to challenge the fact that this amendment is outside, we have two different opinions. Senator Beavers says it's within the caption. Senator Green says it's not, and he says he has legal counsel. Do we jeopardize? There's no severability clause as I see it in the bill. So if it's challenged, if Senator Beavers' amendment is adopted, the bill passes, and it becomes law, and it's challenged in court, does this jeopardize Senator Green's legislation?
On a point of order, I suppose. That's Mr. Clerk.
Speaker, Amendment number 1 by Senator Beavers deletes all the language of the bill as filed and replaces it with the language Senator Beavers described. So if the bill was challenged and found by court to be beyond its caption, the bill would be void law.
We have called for the question. I went a little leeway. It better be point of order. I'm trying to do as I should. Senator Campfield, you're recognized on a point of order.
When we're talking about a caption, and if this isn't within a point of order, let me know. I'll stop. But is a caption, when a caption is drawn, is the caption based on the caption of law it opens, or the definition of the bill put under the caption?
I assume your meaning is it the numerical portion or is it the written portion as to which one's in the caption? That's what you're saying. Mr. Clerk, a point of order.
Speaker, the caption encompasses the title of the code section modified at any limitation placed on thereafter. So the words after the caption, after the recital of the code, are included as part of the caption.
Senator Campfield, on a point of order, we have closed. I've given a little leeway here.
I'm sorry. Do we have a definition of what is written? Can I hear the definition of what is written after the caption?
Read the written portion of the caption.
Speaker, the caption reads, an act to amend TCA section 39-17-111313 relative to observation of firearm or firearm ammunition when transported or stored by a handgun carry permit holder in or on a motor vehicle.
Okay, you're welcome. So we're on the motion to lay on the table. We've had 2 points of order. I think we got the order pretty pointed now, okay? So I'm going to do a voice vote. Those who favor laying on the table signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The table fails. Mr. Clerk?
Speaker, there are no further amendments.
We're on the bill. Senator Gardenhire, you're recognized.
Would like to sponsor to yield so I can get a
Yield.
point of clarification. When you mention persons removing their guns and putting it in their trunk or their car, you're really talking about permit holder, just for the sake of the people watching on TV.
Senator Green?
Mr. Speaker, yes, the law that we're addressing applies only to permit holders.
Further discussion of Senate Bill 1700. Objection to the question. Seeing none, we're on the board. Those in favor of adoption of Senate Bill 1700 vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed will vote no. Has every member voted? Mr. Clerk, take a vote.
Ayes 32, no nays.
Senate Bill 1700 having received a constitutional majority hereby declared passed.